A tow truck was taking his car from his own driveway. Two fake HOA cops smirked. "Sir, you're violating HOA rules. Vacate immediately," one said. But he owned this house, owned this land, owned half the damn neighborhood, and they were about to find out just how big their mistake was. Let's start from the beginning. I barely had time to react before his thick fingers clamped down on my shoulder, yanking hard like he actually believed I'd just go limp and let them drag me away. My feet planted firm, instincts kicking in before logic, and I twisted out of his grip with a sharp jerk. His sunglasses slipped down his nose, revealing a flicker of shock in his beady little eyes before he masked it with a scowl. The skinnier one, still smirking like this was some kind of joke, took a step forward, squaring his shoulders. "You just assaulted an officer of the HOA," he sneered, trying to sound official. "That's another violation." I let out a sharp laugh, more out of disbelief than amusement. "You're not officers. You're a couple of rent-a-thugs playing dress-up, hoping people are too scared or too stupid to question you." The mustached one's jaw clenched. "This property is under HOA jurisdiction and you're trespassing. If you don't leave willingly, we'll have to escalate." "Escalate," I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Go ahead. Let's see how that plays out for you." He exchanged a glance with his partner, something unspoken passing between them, and then the smirk vanished from the skinny one's face. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small radio. "Unit 4, move in," he said, voice dripping with manufactured authority. I felt the tension coil tight in my chest as I heard the unmistakable rumble of a tow truck engine. My gaze snapped past them to the street, where a battered old wrecker was rolling up to my driveway, a tow hook already dangling from its metal arm. My car, my perfectly parked, legally owned car, was about to be stolen. I took a step forward, but the mustached thug shoved a hand against my chest. "You've got 60 seconds to grab whatever you can carry before this place is locked down." 60 seconds. Like they actually thought they could waltz in here, issue their fake little demands, and I'd just comply. Like I was some scared suburbanite who'd fold the second someone in a cheap uniform threw around the word regulation. I felt the heat of rage surge up my spine, a slow, seething burn that settled behind my eyes. They weren't just trying to intimidate me. They were robbing me, on my own damn property. My voice was calm when I spoke, but every word carried an edge sharp enough to cut. "You have no idea who you're messing with." The tow truck's gears groaned as the driver threw it into position. The hook rattled. "Too bad," I muttered, rolling my shoulders back. "You're about to find out." The second I saw that tow hook drop, something inside me snapped. My car, on my own driveway, was being stolen right in front of me, and these smug bastards were standing there like they had any authority to make it happen. The mustached one folded his arms, looking down at me like I was some unruly tenant who just didn't understand the rules. The skinnier one rocked back on his heels, clearly enjoying himself. "You should have just cooperated," he mused. "Would have made this a whole lot easier." I clenched my jaw, my fingers curling around my phone. "Oh, I promise you, it's about to get a whole lot harder." He let out a laugh, a condescending little chuckle like he thought I was bluffing. The tow truck's gears groaned as the driver shifted it into position, its mechanical arm lowering, chains rattling as the hook latched onto my front axle. My fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. They were actually doing it. They were actually stealing my car. I took a slow breath, forcing down the heat rising in my chest, and dialed the number. "Hey, it's me. We have a situation." I didn't have to say much more. They knew exactly what that meant. The mustached one caught the shift in my expression, his smirk faltering just slightly. "You can call whoever you want. Doesn't change the fact that this property is under HOA authority, and you're in violation." I looked at him, unimpressed. You really think that piece of paper means anything? I nodded toward the folder he was clutching like it was some sacred text. Because I can guarantee you, the only place that holds up is in whatever fantasy world you two are living in. The tow truck driver climbed out of his cab, looking between us with growing uncertainty. "Hey man, I don't know about this," he muttered to the skinny one. "Are you sure this is legal?" The smug bastard didn't even blink. "We're the HOA. It's legal when we say it's legal." That was their second mistake, because less than 5 minutes later, the first police car rolled onto my street, then another, then 3 black SUVs. My lawyers arrived in force, stepping out in crisp suits, every single one of them looking like they were about to ruin someone's life. The mustached one stiffened. The skinny one swallowed hard. The tow truck driver immediately started unhooking my car. The smugness was gone. The arrogance evaporated. And for the first time since they knocked on my door, I saw it. Fear. The moment real law enforcement arrived, the illusion shattered. The HOA thugs who just minutes ago had stood tall with smug grins suddenly looked like deer caught in headlights. The lead officer, a grizzled veteran who had zero patience for nonsense, barely glanced at their flimsy paperwork before shaking his head. "This is garbage," he muttered, flipping through the pages like they were toilet paper. "HOA jurisdiction. Son, this association was dissolved 5 years ago. This isn't enforcement. This is a scam." The mustached one opened his mouth, probably to stammer out some excuse, but nothing came. The skinnier one looked like he wanted to shrink into the pavement. Meanwhile, the tow truck driver, who had been confidently hooking up my car minutes earlier, froze. His gaze darted between me, the officers, and the HOA goons, realization dawning fast. "Wait, hold on," he said, hands up. "You guys told me this was all legal. I thought you had actual authority." The police officer turned to him. "So you're admitting you were part of this?" No, man, I was hired. They said they had legal authority. I don't want any part of this." He scrambled back toward his truck, hastily unhooking my car like his life depended on it, which, considering the fraud charges about to land, it probably did. But none of that was the best part. I turned to the so-called HOA enforcers, who were now visibly sweating under the afternoon sun. "See, here's where you two really screwed up," I said, my voice calm, even amused. "You thought you were dealing with some random homeowner, someone you could intimidate, someone who wouldn't fight back." I took a step forward, watching them flinch. "But you didn't bother to do your homework, did you?" I pulled a neatly prepared legal document from my attorney's folder and held it up. "Because if you had, you'd know that I don't just own this house." I let the words hang for a moment, savoring the way their faces drained of color. "I own half the neighborhood." Silence. Thick, suffocating silence. You what?" the mustached one croaked. "You heard me," I said, smiling now. "Which means, legally speaking, I have the final say on everything. And you two? You're trespassing." That's when my attorney stepped in, handing them a stack of legal paperwork. "Cease and desist order," she said coolly. "And a lawsuit for fraud, harassment, and illegal eviction attempts. We'll be seeing you in court." Their bravado? Gone. Their tough guy act? Shattered. For the first time that day, they understood the mess they were in, and there was no way out. A month later, the HOA grifters were exposed on every local news station. Their operation was shut down, and they were facing multiple lawsuits from homeowners they had tried to scam. But the real cherry on top? Since I now owned the majority of properties in the area, I officially restructured the HOA. I drafted one single rule. This HOA exists solely to prevent any future HOA from ever forming again. The neighborhood celebrated. The fraudsters? They got hefty fines and criminal records. And as for me, Every morning, I enjoy my coffee on my porch, in my home, on my land, in my neighborhood, and there isn't a damn thing they can do about it. Triumph, inspiration, justice, delivered.